Following the events of the previous episode, Mr. Secretary has come over to visit the SGC and isn't happy. The President and the Joint Chiefs have doubts about whether or not using the Stargate is even worth the capital cost or not, based on the fact that several months have passed and absolutely no planet-saving technologies have been acquired during that time. That's when Tearg suddenly reveals that he knows of a creature that can turn itself invisible, and that capturing it might give Earth a significant military advantage, as the Goa'uld have tried it and can't figure out how to catch it. They give Tearg the thumbs up and they go to the planet. After taking a few steps, the Stargate disappears alongside their additional equipment and the DHD, the dialing home device. Well, shit. O'Neill decides to split up into two groups, to find the Stargate and to find the creature. While on the hunt, Jack and Daniel find the creature and try to capture it, but a staff weapon blast scares it away. As it turns out, they're not alone on this assumingly uninhabited planet. Ray and his boys are on its trail as well. SG-1 makes a plan on capturing Apophis, but the Colonel has a bad feeling about it. They don't hesitate for long and try to ambush Ray's gang. But to say things went sour would be understating it. Apophis has a personal energy shield, a big surprise. O'Neill dies, Carter dies, Jackson dies, and Teal'c is left standing on his own. Before Ray can kill him, however, the entirety of SG-1 vanishes, leaving the snake slightly tilted. SG-1 wakes up in some tent in the woods as they realize that they just died. They are greeted by this guy and gal, portrayed by Armin Shimmerman and Frida Petrani, but they can't seem to properly communicate with the Tauri and vice versa. Outside, they meet two more, let's just call them druids for now, portrayed by Rake Zypho and Edison Ridge. Edison Ridge introduces himself as Nefreyu, and based on this little interaction, the other druids learn the English language. Holy shit! I would love so much to learn an entire language in 5 minutes instead of 5 f***ing years. They introduce themselves as Antaeus, Leah, and Opa, and the first thing they want SG-1 to do is to leave. That's when Leah reveals that they revived one of Ray's Jafar as well, and that he'll need a bit more time to heal. This Jafar's name is Shackle, and is being portrayed by Mikasa Armstrong, sorry, I can't pronounce that name. Of course, SG-1 worries about their own and the Nox's safety. By the way, these guys are the Nox. But the Nox aren't concerned whatsoever. O'Neill asks for weapons, but their equipment was destroyed. Next best thing, let's make some bows and arrows. But Daniel has doubts that their plan is gonna work. Jack tells him and Sam that Ray's shield has a weakness, as it allows slower moving objects to pass through, so arrows should work contrary to guns. Jack goes into the forest and eventually has to rescue Nefreyu from the creature, while Daniel takes philosophy with Opa. Apparently the Nox draw power and resources from the forest, and in return they help the forest. Dr. Jackson also gets the ominous feeling that the Nox are psychics or extremely advanced, as Opa is 432 years old. Meanwhile, O'Neill figures out that the Nox have the power of invisibility and not the creatures themselves. Antaeus warns the Colonel that he shall stay away from his son from now on, and that he shouldn't try to harm anything else either. SG-1 worries that Ray, once he finds out about the Nox, will kill them all, and they suggest to take Shackle with them back to Earth. But Antaeus insists that Shackle has to choose that by himself. Surprise, surprise, Shackle wakes up, injures Lear as well as Teal'c, and finds his inner Sonic the Hedgehog as he runs for his life. The Nox revive Lear, which is when Shackle notices the power of the Nox and their weakness of being unable to use multiple powers at once. The former First Prime and the Colonel try to hunt Shackle down, but they're too late to the party. O'Neill tries to convince the Nox to ally with them against the Goa'uld, but they refuse and look for Nefreyu instead.
Nefreyu.
Nefreyu.
Who said that Ray isn't good with kids? Anyway, they find a dead child. SG-1 feels like it's a trap and offers the Nox one more chance to accept help, but the Nox refuse, once again insisting that no harm or killing will be done in the forest. It's a little late for that, don't you think? SG-1 prepares their own ambush and the battle begins. This time they manage to kill most of the Jafar guards and Colonel O'Neill corners Apophis. Right when both of them are about to exchange blows, the Nox send Ray and the Snake Gang back through the Stargate. At the gate, the Tauri warn the Nox about the gold once again, but Antaeus shows them that they are perfectly able to take care of themselves, much better than Earth actually. Intending to bury the gate after they left, the Nox send SG-1 back home with the advice that the Tauri way is not the only way forward. Jackson ends the episode with a regret that it's essentially their fault that the Nox will bury the gate, and that the team should have listened to them. However, Jack disregards it as a mistake of youth, having learned his lesson throughout the entire ordeal as well. And that was the 7th episode of the first season of Stargate SG-1. This episode has one big problem: music variation, as 2 particular songs are constantly being reused during the 40 minutes. Other than that, this is actually a good episode with long-term repercussions, as the Nox will heavily influence the story going forward inactively and actively. In other words, this is another episode that you cannot skip for the overall plot of the series, which is very much to my liking. I only wish that Daniel would have had a bit more screen time to discuss philosophy and the Nox's origins. Also, is it just me, or was Carter's presence completely irrelevant in this episode? With that in mind, I hope you had an enjoyable time watching, and I'll see you next time with another retrospective about Stargate. Have a good one.